Hi everyone, so day 2 of Eating Disorder Awareness Week. I'm really sorry about the lighting. I tried to find somewhere that was better, but the office is still the best place. So, basically, I'm going to start off with a quote from my psychiatrist, who is the most amazing psychiatrist in the world. And that is, resilience comes from adversity. Although things can be really difficult and times can get really hard, that resilience that you have to get through that comes into play to be such a helpful tool to have and such a reward at the end of it. And that adversity, once you overcome it, can be one of the best things you've ever overcome. So today I'm going to discuss recovery as it is. So this is going to be sort of things that I found useful, and that's both the first time I recovered, the second time, and currently. So first of all, I want to state that it's not linear. It's not the same for every single individual. Everyone recovers differently. Sometimes people relapse, sometimes they don't. Sometimes, you thrive, sometimes you don't. It's really difficult, and it depends on every individual situation and the support that you've got to hand. So the first time I recovered, I think I didn't want to recover. It was sort of like an ultimatum, and my mum took control and we did something called the Maudsley method. So we basically did inpatient from home, which is what was recommended by our CAM supervisor, after being told that the NHS wasn't going to waste money on a corpse that was never going to get better because she'd had it for too long. So thank you to that lady, who is really just not a helpful therapist at all, but we'll ignore that. And basically I was inpatient from home. I was under the control of my mum. If I was to go out, I had to be in a wheelchair, so I just didn't go out because I thought I wasn't sick enough to be in a wheelchair. So basically I had that for 6 months. I was with my mum 24/7. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere on my own. I had a baby monitor in my bedroom, all this sort of stuff that basically meant I was on the right path. And so I did that, and then my GP, who is still my current GP, is absolutely amazing. I cannot praise him enough, and he was very, very good and very supportive with it all anyway. So between the three of us, and then between people that motivated me, so Demi Lovato, and then I had my amazing best friend Wednesday, and she was absolutely incredible with all of it. I had other friends and my family, and people were just so supportive of it. And it was difficult because people didn't all understand it, but they tried their hardest, and if they didn't, they just sort of were there for me as family or friends to sort of make me feel normal. That's the other thing. I think it's important to still feel normal in recovery, be treated as a normal person, because it can be really hard if people are labelling you as, I don't know, vulnerable or something. Sometimes you still get those pity looks in public, so it's really not helpful to have that from friends and family as well. I did a work booklet as well that I found very, very helpful. I created it myself and I worked my way through it, and I found that was exceptionally helpful for me to really get in touch with my feelings, what I was feeling and what I was going through. We then started something called I think it was called the Pixie Challenge. I can't remember what we called it. But anyway, it was a case of, I was obsessed with Peter Pan growing up, so we decided to adapt that. So faith in my body, that it wasn't going to make me sick, and faith in those around me, trust in those around me that they weren't trying to make me fat or kill me, and pixie dust being the fat, which, telling an anorexic to eat more fat was really just not something that should have been done, so we called it pixie dust. And so I was told when I got to a certain weight I could get a cat, and thus Pixie. So that's when we got Pixie Belle. I also found Instagram very, very helpful at the time. I'm very aware that as of now it's not as helpful. I know that there's a community on there that are making things worse, so I would urge you to find other outlets to recover from, or just be very, very cautious about who you engage with on those sites, because it can be both helpful and detrimental. I made a lot of friends that were recovering at the same time as me, Brie, Emily, people like that, who were just absolutely incredible, and we all sort of got through it together. We had like challenges on Friday or whatever, and it was Fear Food Friday and things like that that really just helped to feel like I wasn't alone. So I also met my boyfriend when I was just starting to get better, and that gave me a lot of motivation to get better, because I didn't want to be sick. I wanted to be able to do things because I don't know, in a way I wanted to look nicer, I guess. I'm not entirely sure how my brain process worked there, but yeah, so eventually he ended up being my boyfriend, and the rest is history. So they were the things that helped me. I also made an effort to write down the best bit of each day on like a little post-it note and put it in a jar. So when I felt like the days were really hard, I really had to think of something positive, and I could also reflect on positive things that happened the day before. So they were the things that helped last time. Now, with my second round of really needing intensive help and support, I did go into a crisis house for a while. That kind of helped, kind of didn't. And then I met my psychiatrist, who, again, I cannot praise enough. Absolutely amazing woman, so good. She diagnosed me with my bipolar, and so working with her, that really helped. And so that little like mini blip was okay for a while. Now, then we had the relapse recently, and so for that I had to look for a lot of motivation in terms of things to look forward to, because I'd already got the cat, and that worked really well for me to have something to look forward to, and I also found it really helpful with like friends and family again. So I thought about my sister's wedding a lot, and that helped me to sort of stay okay. I had a knee operation coming up that I knew I had to be healthy for, and at the same time I'm quite an exercise person. I suffer with over exercising, so I wanted to be able to exercise, and thus that meant my knee had to be fixed, which is kind of a disordered way to think about it, but it meant that that was going to happen. And I was pretty much sofa bound whilst my knee was recovering. So I also had my CPM, my GP and my psychiatrist, who all worked with me to get better this time round, and I refused to go back to my eating disorder service. I'm not promoting that. I would suggest you seek help for your eating disorder. I personally just have experience with my eating disorder clinics, and I don't find them very helpful at all. So my GP and my psychiatrist were my help and support, because they are just absolutely amazing. We had a joint meeting, we laid it all down, you know, that's where the bangle that says eat came from, and they're just absolutely amazing, and they still keep track of me now. I see them regularly, and through that, that's how I'm staying on track and getting better. My GP can read me like a book, as can my psychiatrist, so it's been really helpful to recover with them by my side. Again, with friends and family, knowing my bipolar as a feature now, it has also been really helpful to learn that that is perhaps impacting my recovery from my anorexia. It's also been really hard as an adult being in charge of my own recovery, because last time it was a case of someone could take over, whereas this time I had to really dig deep to find different things I wanted to get better for. So being a mum, hopefully seeing Demi Lovato in concert again sometime, and having my own house and working, and the things that I had to lose now that I was an adult with anorexia and not a child at college with anorexia. So people understanding a bit more, that really helped this time round, because I needed that support from people without them going, oh, this is stupid, why are you doing it again, sort of thing. And it was really hard with me and Josh at the time, because he'd never been through this lying phase with my anorexia, so he wasn't entirely sure what was going on. So they were the things that helped. As I say, distraction, goals, motivation, trust. I cannot emphasize this enough. Trust is so important in those around you, and also in your treatment team and in yourself. You have to have that level of trust. Unfortunately, at the minute, I'm really struggling, but that level of trust has to be there. So me trusting my psychiatrist and my GP is really helpful. Now, sometimes you do need some physical intervention, and that also helps with the recovery process, because you do need the calories in order for your brain to work correctly. That sort of thing. So I'm currently on Fortisips, and that is a way for me to get an intake without necessarily having too much distress, or not being able to have anything. So they're the things that I would suggest are helpful. I could think of more, but at the minute I'm a little bit all over the place with uni. So this is just a general video of how I've recovered, what I found helpful. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos of like Rebecca Jane, people like that, who have really supported my ideas of recovery and shown me that, you know, this thought I have of recovery isn't necessarily what it is. You know, I'm not going to be 10 stone tomorrow when I wake up. Like it's not going to work like that. And as I say, my GP and my psychiatrist are truly amazing, as is my mum and my boyfriend and my sister and dad, and I cannot list everybody that has really helped this time round. So to close off with, let's just use another quote, which is, it's okay to be a glow stick. Sometimes we have to break before we shine. And some of these quotes are really cheesy, but they are really, really true. You can be dark and alone, but that doesn't mean that there's not that switch that can turn things around again. And sometimes you need that scary impact to do that, and sometimes you don't. But all I would say is just keep going, believe in yourself, and find what works for you. Everyone's is different. Everyone's recovery isn't linear, you know, there's ups and downs. It's life. It's just like a normal person, up and down in life. But it's hard, and you need to use the people around you and help them to understand how you're feeling as well. Try not to bottle yourself up. Try not to keep yourself to yourself. Try to open up. The other thing that I will mention is I did true or false. It's not worked this time round, but last time round it did. So I would say, if I eat this, I'm going to be fat, or this has got this in it. And I would rely on my mum to say true or false, fact or fiction, that sort of thing. And the final thing I will say is I actually got letters from a lot of people that I love and care about, and that helped so I could justify that I was loved and wanted. They're basically all I can think of at the minute, but all I can say is that's just my own personal process. That's what I've been through. This is where I am at the minute, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another video.